Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hygge With It. Today we are here to conclude the books that I'm very eager are coming out in 2020. I've already done 2 videos talking about just this, but I had so many that I've been excited about that this is part 3. So if you haven't watched part 1 and 2, I will link them below. I will hope that you go and watch that after this. So let's get into it. Good books. So the first book I have to share with you today is Hamnett by Maggie OFarrell. I read I Am by her, which is her nonfiction, I believe her only nonfiction. And this is historical fiction from Maggie OFarrell, which is different for her. This is coming out at the end of March. This is inspired by her love of Shakespeare. And we follow a woman named Agnes who is as feared as she is revered for her unusual gifts. Now she settles down with a husband and she ends up having 3 children, a daughter, Susanna, and then twins, Hamnett and Judith. Her boy Hamnett dies in 1596 when he's 11 years old. And 4 years later, her husband writes a play called Hamlet. I don't really need to know more than that. Like, Maggie OFarrell is a wonderful writer and I'm really, really eager for that one. Next is a book that I just thought looked so cute. It's called Baby, a Soppy Story by Philippa Rice. This is coming out in early January or like mid-January. This is a collection of comics and illustrations and it is about the everyday moments of parenthood, from dreaming of having a baby to being pregnant to actually having the baby itself. And it just looks lovely. I think the illustrations look good. I think that she came out with like a graphic novel kind of thing of her meeting her husband or something before, and it just sounds lovely, and I wanted to share that with you, and I'm going to be reading that. Next up is the next Riley Sager, which makes me beyond excited. Home Before Dark is coming out in early July. He's just so good. So in this book we meet a woman who is returning home, and this home has been made very, very famous by her father's best-selling horror memoir. And she gets there, and I guess the question is the place really haunted, or did her father just make it all up? You flash backwards in time to when she lived there with her parents. They moved to this place called Bainbury Hall, and it's a rambling Victorian estate in the Vermont woods, and they spent 3 weeks there before they had to leave suddenly in the dead of night. And apparently her dad wrote this horror memoir about his experience there, and it kind of is similar to like the Amityville horror. So our main character, Maggie, was a little kid when she lived there, and she doesn't remember it very well. Like, I think was too young to remember it. Now she's grown up. She's now a woman who restores old homes, and she just honestly doesn't believe it. She just thinks it's all made up, and so she goes back, and of course strange things start happening. So that sounds fantastic. Next is the Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. She wrote The Broken Girls, which was a huge hit last year, and this book is coming out in February. This takes place in Fell, New York, and we follow a woman named Viv who works at the Sundown Motel. She works as a night clerk, and she very much tries to keep her nose out of people's business. Working at a motel like this, you have some very interesting characters that pass through, and she tries to, avoid it. She's trying to save up money so she can move to New York City. However, something just isn't right at the Sundown Motel, and before long, she is completely determined to uncover its many secrets. Next up is another thriller, 8 Perfect Murders by Peter Swanson. This is coming out in early March. This one just sounds just perfect for me. Like, I really am looking forward to this one. It follows a bookseller who finds himself at the very center of an FBI investigation. So I guess this guy, this bookseller, had written and compiled this list of 8 perfect murders that he found in books. So there's Agatha Christie's ABC Murders, Donna Tartt's A Secret History. These are a couple that make the list. And then when he finds out this guy is actually using this list to inspire these murders, he has to get involved. And he's also terrified, and things get closer and closer to his own life. And it just sounds fantastic. Next up is Survivor Song by Paul Tremblay. This is coming out in early July. This takes place in Massachusetts. There's this virus going around. It makes people kind of act crazy and start biting people. And we follow a pediatrician, and her friend Natalie calls her one day. Her friend Natalie is 8 months pregnant. A neighbor who contracted this virus attacked her husband, killed her husband, also attacked her. She was bitten. She's still alive, obviously, but she's 8 months pregnant. So her only chance for survival is getting to a hospital to receive a rabies vaccine. And getting there is the difficult part. And I think the pediatrician and Natalie are somehow going to try and work together to get there. And it is their adventure getting there. And I think he's going to do this really well. I am very excited about that one. More thrillers. Next up is The Other People by C.J. Tudor. This is coming out at the end of January. So in this book, we follow Gabe, who saw his daughter being taken 3 years ago. No one will believe him. Most people actually believe that his wife and daughter have died. And he had seen her being taken by this car with a bunch of bumper stickers all over it, and he's spent the last 3 years just driving up and down the motorway trying to see this car again. We also follow a girl named Katie. She works as a waitress, and she often sees Gabe, and she really feels for him. 9 years ago, her father was murdered. And then we have another perspective from Fran and her daughter Alice, and they put a lot of miles on the motorway, not searching, but running and trying to keep one step ahead of the people that want to hurt them, because Fran knows the truth. She knows really what happened to Gabe's daughter. And all of these stories intermix, and it sounds really complicated, but also interesting. So the last book that I have to share with you is Darling Rose Gold by Stephanie Roble. This is coming out in March, and this has a lot of hype. This is about a mother-daughter relationship that is so twisted. For her whole childhood, Rose Gold, which is her name, which is interesting. Anyway, Rose Gold was told that she was incredibly ill. She was apparently allergic to everything. She stayed in a wheelchair. She was at the hospital constantly. And like everyone knew about it. Neighbors knew about it and would like try to help out the family. The doctors were doing an insane amount of tests, but nobody could ever figure out what was actually wrong with Rose Gold. And in the end, her mother, Patty, was actually just lying, and Rose Gold was perfectly healthy. I think it turns out that Patty went to jail for this because it's totally immoral to do this. And she gets out and expects her daughter to take care of her. Now, Patty says that she really wants to make amends for what she's done, and Rose Gold agrees to take her in, which everyone is shocked about, including me. I probably wouldn't if that was the case for me. But Rose Gold is not dumb. She knows her mom. She knows how manipulative she is. She also knows that she also always like wants to settle a score. However, Patty is underestimating Rose Gold, and she's grown up, and I think she's going to try to get revenge. I think it sounds fantastic and like so much fun. So those are all of the books that I needed to share with you that are coming out in 2020 that I think sound fantastic. Let me know in the comments below if there are any books here that you are interested in. I would love to know, and I will talk with you soon. Bye!